good Friday afternoon. This is the Dolores Reyes Show. Talk to me on Life Media Network. I'm your co-host Dolores Reyes, and I'm here today with my co-host Alice Butler Short. Alice, say hello to our listeners and our viewers.
Yes, well, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I
Great.
love these warm summer days.
Oh yes, it's nice and hot today. Um, Let me say this. Well, it looks like the kumbaya moment has come and gone, and the sore losers on the left have come up with fake excuses to try and impeach our wonderful President Trump. So let's get right to the heart of the matter, Alice, and please read the first two questions for discussion.
Okay, number one. Why hasn't the fake news media reported the Democrats' collusion with Ukraine's interference in the election of President Trump and his campaign? This might take us the whole half hour.
Yes, this may take the whole half an hour.
Number two, Eric Trump has committed no crime, nor did he have the intent to interfere with the election of 2016. So why are the losers on the left accusing him of treason?
Oh boy, treason's a big word, isn't it?
It sure is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Senate has revised its original American Health Care Act bill. Oh my goodness. Let's discuss health care in America. How do you think we should address pre-existing conditions? What's your idea to solve the problem cost effectively? Oh my. That's a lot. The college student killed in Greece last week was an African American. Let's discuss his case, what happened, and what is the status of this case. Okay, let's start our discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ukraine government. I did a lot of research on this topic, and boy, is it quite interesting, Alice.
Yeah,
it is interesting.
So much.
The Ukrainian government officials made efforts to help Hillary Clinton's campaign to undermine Trump and interfere in Trump's 2016 campaign. Clinton operatives did research to damage Trump and his advisors. A Political, which is a magazine on the Hill, investigation found out. Okay, Alexandria, which is Kolpov, an American operative of Ukrainian descent, and a consultant for the Democratic National Committee, met with top Ukrainian embassy officials in Washington in a concerted effort to expose ties between Trump campaign aide Paul Manafort and Russia. One of their goals was to get rid and have Paul Manafort fired. Adriana Telenkowski, a former employee at the Ukrainian embassy, said that she was instructed by Ukrainian embassy officials to help Kopov to conduct research on Trump, Manafort, and Russia. Former embassy sources also said that Kopov and embassy officials worked directly with reporters to help conduct research on Trump and his advisors, that the Ukraine embassy worked closely with political operatives of the DNC. Now, there's a little bit more, but I want us to discuss this a little bit. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yes, let's get to the root of this. Get to the heart of the matter. Yes. First of all, the disinformation was that Putin wanted Trump to win. That is what we call disinformation.
Absolutely.
Putin wanted Hillary to win. And why? Because Hillary, as Secretary of State, had already given away 20% of our uranium. Does everyone understand what that is?
Uranium is used to make nuclear bombs, and he owns that, and he owns most of it that's here in the United States.
Right.
So what was
but what was the reward? What was the reward?
Oh, we know.
$150 million to the Clinton Foundation and a speech in Moscow by His Majesty Bill for $500,000. Now, that's what I would call bribery.
And I don't think Bill Clinton's worth $500,000 for a speech either. Not if he's going to talk about the details of Monica Lewinsky.
$5 maybe.
But if he's going to talk about the details of Monica Lewinsky, I mean, all the sawdry details.
Well, I think
I'd say $100,000.
I think we already know that. I think we already know that, and we don't want to go there.
$500,000? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's obvious. It's very, very obvious without going any further why Putin wanted Hillary to win.
Absolutely.
I mean, he had it set. Just as when the former president sat in a meeting and said to the Russian official, "It's okay. I will have more flexibility after I'm elected."
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Collusion.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Now, Kolpov, this Alexandra Kolpov, this person who is Ukrainian descent, told Ukrainian officials if we can get information on Manafort or Trump involvement with Russia, we can have a hearing in U.S. Congress by September. 1 week after Manafort was hired, Alexandria Kopov spoke with Marcy Kaptur, who is a Democrat from Ohio and the co-chair of the Congressional Ukrainian Caucus. She spoke to her legislative assistant about congressional investigation into Trump's campaign. A few weeks later, the Congresswoman released an official statement that her office was backing a bill to create an independent commission to investigate possible outside influence in U.S. elections, adding the evidence relates to Russia. So basically, it was sort of orchestrated. It was sort of manipulated. The DNC had been doing this from day one. This wasn't new under the sun at all. This was not new.
Yes. So then they put out the false information or the disinformation about President Trump and his so-called connections, which were false. And the media plays the drum and pounds the drum over and over again. And next thing we know, everybody is talking about the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia.
Well, not only that, the Ukrainians and the Democrats got together to try to set out a false narrative that President Trump was mentally unstable. They were trying to do everything. Well, now that Trump is the president, they can't even get in to see the bathroom at the White House. They can't get in to even see the cook or the people who clean and sweep the floors at the White House. So they have hired a lobbying firm with the heavy GOP ties. They're paying them $50,000 a month to try to get them an audience with the Trump campaign or with the Trump administration, and they have not been successful in doing so. And they are so desperate. They've got something out on the street in Washington saying anybody can help them mend the relationship between the United States and the Ukraine. They are willing to pay big bucks to make that happen. So Ukraine, boo on you. Why don't you go to the Democratic Party, the losers that you are, and you go over there and you work with them and let them try to get you a audience with our fabulous president. How about that?
Well, I think what everyone needs to take away from this conversation is that the collusion was between the Democrats and the Ukraine to get Hillary in, and not the big president. Lie about Russia and the president.
Absolutely. Yes. The Ukrainians were doing everything to get
and the
Hillary
evidence
in.
Is there. The facts are there.
The facts are there. They were trying to do everything to get it in with her. I don't know if a lot of people know about the relationship between the Ukraine and Russia. The Ukraine and the Russians have this problem in that Russia took over Crimea from the Ukrainians, and this goes back. I mean, they've had this little tit-a-tat going for many years. So subsequently, I do believe that the Ukrainians actually thought that Hillary was going to win. Well, now they know they're on the wrong side of history.
Everyone except those people like us.
Absolutely, except for us. And wait a minute, the fake media was doing the same thing.
Exactly.
All of them thought that that he was going to lose, and that
well,
they were
even
going to
win. so many Republicans came to me and afterwards and said, "Alice, you were way ahead of us."
Well, a lot of people came to you and I. Remember, we had to do all those interviews and everything.
Right.
Oh my God, people were all over us because we were the ones that was telling them, "No, she's not going to win. Our president, Donald Trump, is going to win."
Yes.
And they, how about that? They just poo-pooed us.
Absolutely, but we also tapped into the spiritual aspect of this entire campaign.
That was
was the other thing,
Yes,
and we really believed that God had.
We still do.
We still believe, yes, that God has raised him up. And,
to be president of the United States.
Yes.
There's no question that there is a divine element to be president of the
and
United States.
basically to save this country.
Absolutely, saving.
Not only to keep it on the foundation that it's had for over 200 years, but to make it, as he says, to make it great again.
Absolutely.
We were going downhill so fast.
They're trying to keep us going downhill. But our president is steadfast. He's strong. He's a businessman. He knows what has to be done. I've noticed that the stock market, when he first came on, was really going up, and now all these ludicrous fake news type and kind of stories that's circulating in Washington is having the economy to go a little bit stagnant. So the Democrats are even trying to sabotage Americans. They don't want us to make money. They want us to be like, inner city and the barrio and the trailer park. They're trying to make it so that even our economy isn't working. Are they that desperate, Alice? Are they that desperate?
They're desperate for power. And where you really,
and if they don't care who they take down.
If you look at it and you ask yourself, what is the reason they want, unlimited refugees coming in? What is the reason they want open borders? Is it because they're so magnanimous and so compassionate they want to take care of people? No, they want these people in because they're immediately Democrat votes. They want the votes, they want the power. And then once they have the power, you will not know America. It will not be the America that our founding fathers left to us.
And what's so ironic, those illegal aliens and those refugees and those people who get a pathway, they know at the end of the day, once they get what they want, they're going to kick them to the side of the road. They're not going to continue to pass out various and sundry loans and grants and welfare and Section 8 and so forth and so on. That's going to go right down the drain.
Oh, I don't think so. If the Democrats are...
well, I'm saying they won't keep it going forever and ever and ever.
They keep it going to the detriment of our economy.
Oh, yeah, well,
and
they
so
do
then we
everything to the
have
detriment of our economy.
Then we have socialism, equal misery for everyone.
Well, listen, today, on my way here, after I had left my phone at home, they said something on the news that this very wealthy Chicago businessman came to find out he purchased and was working with people spending dollars in order to unmask Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails. Mm-hmm. And they found him dead in a hotel room today.
Oh, that's right, yes.
You hear about that?
Yes, I heard about
they
that.
They found him dead in a hotel room.
Yeah, another...
And they said,
so-called suicide.
He died of natural causes.
Oh, did he?
But
I thought it was, yeah.
He committed suicide, but he left all that information he obtained. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to see if the fake media starts telling us what's in it. Mm-hmm. What did he find out?
Yes.
And I don't know if he really killed himself. I mean, they could have sprayed him. You know how they did that to the Kim Jong-un of North Korea's brother. They sprayed him with something and killed him in 20 minutes.
There's a woman called Dolly Kyle Browning who has written an expose on the Clintons. She goes way back. And she outlines every single thing. It's an amazing book. It's called Hillary, the Other Woman. And people say, well, how come she's alive? And do you know what her answer is?
What?
Psalms 91.
Oh, okay, tell me that. Come on. Psalm 91.
Psalms 91 is the psalm where God says he will protect us and under his wings, and the angels will surround us and keep us from the plague, and it's a very powerful psalm.
Well, now, let's talk a little bit about Eric Trump. Eric Trump was a novice in terms of the pit bulls here in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. I am convinced that he was not apprised of the fact that this woman, and see, I think she may have been a setup. She knew before.
But she was a setup.
She knew that she wasn't going to talk about anything to do with Hillary Clinton before she walked in the door.
Look, this was way back early in the campaign when everyone was doing opposition research about everyone else. That's what campaigns are all about.
Absolutely.
So he heard that this woman had some information. He said, okay, I'll meet with her. So now this was before there was the Russia collusion thing, right? So it was perfectly innocent. He met with this woman. He realized very, very quickly that she had nothing and that she had gotten the meeting, with false claims.
Yes.
And then she apparently started to talk about Russian adoptions, and the meeting ended, and that was it. There was no follow-up. There was nothing. And so now this is just another distraction, another way to persecute the Trump family.
This is the end of the kumbaya, just like I said. They have no intentions of stopping. They are trying to go after everybody that's around our president. Right. Jared perhaps next is going to be
Right.
Ivanka.
Although
then she's going to go after Melania.
although
This is
I would
embarrassed.
disagree with you, there's never been a kumbaya.
Well, you're the one that's a proponent. Oh, we got to fix this, and one day you told me, don't say Civil War. I'm like,
Well, that's true.
Alice, they're not going to work with us. You're the one that's always saying, well, let's walk in the light and let them. We're going to be good friends with them, and they're going to be able to
Not
come
really, but I do
and
say
we're going to come together and we're going to talk. And
No,
they're
no.
proving to us that they have no
I-
intentions of doing anything
I'm
like
not
that.
I'm not that naive. But what I do say is walk in the light in spite of.
Well, yes,
because
we
if
can walk in the light
If
in
we
spite
go
of.
if we go to the dark place and we're every day in fear of what they're doing, that's not going to help
no,
us.
we're not.
We still have to know that God is in
Trump
control.
supporters are fearless.
Yes.
We know that we're dealing with a demon, and we know that we're demon slayers, and they're not going to bring our president down,
That's
and
right.
that we're going to support him to the end. Anything that they say and do, we are going to be fighting back. We're not going to sit back and be a snowflake like they are.
Well, that's true.
Absolutely.
I had an interview this week with ABC Television in Australia.
Oh, great.
And it was to go up against this. His name was Russ Ulmeyer, if you want to Google him.
Mm-hmm.
And after the G20, he came out with this. Oh my gosh, it was.
What did he say?
It was unbelievable
What did he say?
about the terrible job that he had done and how Trump is alone, and it was just so negative. So when they interviewed me, my first words out of my mouth were, "Who is this idiot?" so we went from there, and the people in Australia saw it, and believe it, I wear this as a badge of honor. I got hate mail from Australia.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, let me tell you what happened to me. I was invited to, I don't know if I told you this, I was invited to an event that they had all these German women come who were elected officials in Germany, and we had a small meeting with them at a private club in Washington, and one woman commenced now, we're all Donald Trump supporters, Republican women, sitting there with them, and this one woman started downing President Trump. Well, of course.
What did you do?
That is exactly right. I said, wait a minute.
Now, if you got Dolores and an Irish woman together, I wasn't there, but if you got both of us together, she's done for.
I had a you there. I mean, there was a woman that was my other you there. And her and I went after that woman like you would not believe. We shut her up. And we started telling them, look at all those illegal refugees you have, 1.5 million of them there. I said they're raping, robbing, killing, the German women. So they were saying we are having a cultural clash. Having their cultural clash, and they didn't know what to do and
coexist. Don't you love it?
And they were just so naive,
Yeah.
And so they were trying to talk to us. And so one man said, "Well, I'm sick of hearing about the wall." I said, "Excuse me, I just did research on the wall. It's moving forward. They even found a person to give them $21 billion. They have even gotten bids out, and they've got the bids back, and the wall is going to be built." So, and he just looked at me, sneered at me, and I was like, okay, you want to hear more about the wall?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I mean, they're going after everybody around our president. And I was thinking to myself, well, now let me see. My aqua aerobics instructor is Russian, and I had a clandestine meeting with him about helping me remove my fat. I wonder if they're going to come after me.
My yoga instructor is Russian.
Okay, and then did you have
Maria?
Yes, did you have a clandestine meeting with her about your yoga movement?
I had many
God.
conversations with her.
Oh, it's going to be in the news. We're going to be on the front page of the
We
Washington
are all part
Post.
of it. We're all part of it.
I tell you, we've got these Russian people who's my aqua aerobics instructor, and Jesus, we're going to be on the front page.
And by the way,
and on CNN.
The only nice communication that I got from Australia was from a Russian woman.
Oh, my goodness.
We're in trouble.
Oh, my God. I tell you, it's okay. Now, we just had our Senate do a revised American Health Care Act. Incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the act is called in the Republican administration. It's no longer the Affordable Health Care Act. It's the American Health Care Act. So they did some revisions to this particular act. And of course, the same bad actors are the ones that continue to not be on board, which is Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. They are saying, oh no, I don't think we're going to even get, we're not going to vote on voting for the bill. So that means that they are not even going to let Mitch McConnell bring it to the forefront. And of course, Rand Paul is against
Yes,
it.
I heard him on the radio on the way over.
Yes, and then you can tell me a little bit about that. And Susan Collins of Maine, and Senator Heller from, I think he's from Rhode Island. I think he's from no, he's from Nevada. Sorry, and they're obstructing it, and we can only afford to have 2 no's. We can't the Democrats they have gone totally by the wayside. They're just not even going to participate, don't want to have any input. Well, guess what? You're going to get what you're going to get. If you don't want to have any input into this American Health Care Act, then you're going to get what you're going to get. Okay, tell us about what they said on your way over.
Well, Rand Paul said he's totally against it, that, so many politicians had run saying we're going to repeal Obamacare, and he thinks it needs to be totally repealed. To some extent, I agree with him, but it's this is a complex issue, and it's easy for you and I to sit in our high stool here and tell them what they should do, but we're not in there. Right. So I think we have to, and I do trust when President Trump promised that he was going to give us a good healthcare system. I trust him. And it may take some negotiation, it may take some compromise, and it may take some time, but he will do it.
Well, I think the compromise that Ted Cruz came up with was plausible. What he said was, listen, do have the basic foundation there, but you also have to have the rest of the components that's in the Affordable Health Care Act. In other words, you can have a catastrophic policy. And what does that mean? Catastrophic policy means if you're a small business person or you're a consultant or an individual, you can get a policy that doesn't have to have all those other bells and whistles. You can have a policy that if you get sick and go in the hospital, that's when your insurance kicks in. But if you have a cold or if you have the flu or you stubbed your toe or you need a tetanus shot, you have to pay for that yourself.
Yes.
But if you have a heart attack or cancer or something like that, then you can use your insurance kicks in, and that's what a catastrophic policy is.
Right.
So and he added that to it. So, and that's been added to the new American Health Care Act. So I think that, and Ted Cruz was the person to say do that, and then you can still have that one that's the full Monty, the one that has everything in it. Yeah. You know, if that's what you choose to do. So if you were if you were Mitch McConnell, and you were honchoing the efforts in regards to the American Health Care Act, what would you, this is just your opinion, what would you do about pre-existing conditions? How would you handle that? That seems to be the bone of contention.
Well, I think pre-existing conditions have to be dealt with. Yes, and I don't think it should be a stigma to getting health insurance.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. This is my thoughts were these. My thoughts were, okay, pre-existing conditions, we got to handle that. I was thinking that the marketplace, everybody who's not in a pre-existing condition, they should be able to buy insurance anywhere they want. We should be able to go online and look up insurance companies and pick out whatever we want. And then the pre-existing conditions should be handled by, they should be handled by either Medicare, Medicaid, or some other form of medicine that is run by or put together with the federal government, like Medicare and Medicaid. Those are the only two I'm thinking. I don't think anything else. Just those two. So
I think it's way more complex than that. And
I think what
we need to get away from, we don't want a government run healthcare system. We want it to be private, but it has to be made affordable, and that the way to do that is through competition.
Well, the other way to do it, pre-existing conditions now. Not everybody else who doesn't have it, but pre-existing conditions. I was thinking, okay, why don't the private industry pay for 40%, the federal government pay for 50%, and families pay 10%? People think that people who are on Medicare don't pay for their insurance.
Yes, we do.
Medicare, there you go. Medicare people. Do you know people who are on Medicare have to pay for their insurance, and they take out over $100 a month every month, which is over $1,000 a year in order to get Medicare. So Medicare is not free. So subsequently, a policy in Medicare or Medicaid for pre-existing conditions would not be free either. It could be taken out of their Medicare payment or their Medicare payment or their welfare payment or some way, but maybe like 10, 15, $20 a month, something to that effect. But something, you know what I mean? They would contribute something. So not some major tens of thousands of dollars, no, but something that's reasonable and affordable for that particular family. And that doesn't mean the whole family gets on,
Well,
and only
you
that
know,
person that has a
you're
pre-existing
reminding me
condition.
now of something that I heard this week, and it was on the Larry O'Connor show. And,
Okay, what did he say?
there was a man called in from Maryland. His name was Alan, and he was in tears. He said, "Look, let this man do his job." He said,
Yes.
"All I want is a few more dollars in my paycheck." He said, "We're out here." He said, "I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning and my cable has just been cut off.
Yes.
My girl can't get a job.
Oh, yeah.
Let this man do his job."
Do
and
what he does
yes,
best.
and I think that's
It's
what we have to
creating
do. You know, he of all of the presidents that we've had in recent history, I don't think there's anyone whose heart and soul has been in it for the American people like President Trump's.
Listen, this man has been going through hecks. They've been coming after his family. They've been coming after him. They've been trying to do everything to bring him down, and he keeps moving forward.
Yes.
He keeps moving forward with his programs. He keeps moving forward with executive orders. He keeps moving forward with his promises to his supporters like us. And that's why one of the reasons why we support him. We also support him, just like you said earlier, because we believe that he was a chosen type
We
person
do.
to be president of the
Yes,
United States.
and as you would
can't
recall,
change it.
at my the recent event I had,
Oh, yeah.
I dedicated "You Raise Me Up" to
Yes.
him, because I do believe that God raised him up, and I do believe that he stands on God's shoulders each day. Otherwise, he could not do this.
Absolutely. Now, really quickly, before we go off the air, I want to tell you a little bit about the American tourist that was killed in Greece. The American tourist killed in Greece last week was an African American. His name is Bakari Henderson. Bakari was killed by a group of about 15 Syrian men after an argument over a selfie at a bar on the Greek island of Sekonos. Bakari was beaten to death by a group of Syrian men that chased him out of the bar and ran him down and beat him in the head until he died in a span of 30 seconds. The confrontation began after Henderson, who was vacationing with friends and asked to take a picture with a waitress, and things quickly escalated into a fistfight involving other customers and two bar employees. Bakari was 22 years old. He was a recent graduate of the University of Arizona. Witnesses said the mob kicked and punched him to his body and his head. His death came from hits in the head. Greek police have arrested 9 men and charged them with intentional homicide. Bakari's friends have raised more than $45,000 through GoFundMe for his funeral and his transportation costs to return his body to the United States and his family. So, I tell you, Alice, I need your words of wisdom. I need your words of wisdom right now. Do you have some words or a little prayer or something to take us through the week?
Well, I can just say what I usually say, that don't go in the dark place. Keep your faith in God.
Yes.
And walk in the light. Just believe that the light will always overcome the darkness. Pray for our president.
Yes.
For God to give him strength and to give him wisdom each day. And I believe he will deal with all of the issues, including the refugee problem. And these were refugees. And so we really do need to vet the people coming into this country.
Extremely vet
so
them, yes.
we pray that God will guide our president in everything he does, and that we who support him will walk in the light and help him with our prayers.
Okay, great. Trump wins the presidency. Win of the presidency, makes no mistake. Just when you think it's safe to go back into the water, the left sharks will return with something new. They are desperate to win the Senate in 2018, or to win something, anything. Desperate people can be dangerous. So, I just want everyone to know that this is the Dolores Reyes Show. Talk to me on eLife Media Network. Thank you for listening and viewing our show today. Call in and talk to me on 240-455-5934. Again, that's 240-455-5934. 5934. And we're on eLife Media Network. May God be the glory. Say amen to His
Amen.
majesty and grace.
Amen.
Thank
Walk in
you.
the light.
Mm-hmm.